Donald Trump could have upheld faith in America. He could have lifted up what's good and true about our faith. Instead, he has used Christianity for his own purposes. He does not value faith, not really. Look who he surrounded himself with.
You need to send in that $100,000 check.
Christians don't need Trump to save them. The truth is that Trump needs Christians to save his flailing campaign. Ask yourself, is our culture healthier or more broken after the last 4 years? Are we more unified or divided? And are we more or less of a Christian nation?
That is the latest ad campaign from the Not Our Faith Pact, a group of bipartisan Christian leaders who oppose President Trump's reelection. And a member of that group joins us now, Michael Ware. He led religious outreach for President Barack Obama's reelection campaign. Also with us, president of Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, Reverend William Barber. Great to have you both. Michael Ware, I want to hear a lot about your effort to reach out to Christians. But I first have to ask, why are they with Trump? Well, I mean, these are the last people you would think would need outreach.
Well, you know, millions of Christians oppose Trump's reelection. And it's important. Christians don't owe Donald Trump anything. He owes them. He owes Americans, and he's failed them. He's forced Christians to answer for his actions because he's kind of globbed onto their faith. And that needs to end. Christians are done answering for Donald Trump's actions. He's failed them in policy and in personal behavior. Mika, I think millions of Christians are going to be a part of the coalition that defeats Donald Trump in a couple of weeks. And at notourfaith.com and at Not Our Faith, we're going to be making that closing argument, that case, laying out why Christians will not support Donald Trump's reelection.
I want to follow up with more on that, but I want to bring in Reverend William Barber on this and your concerns, if you have any, Reverend Barber, at this point about Election Day and about making sure all the votes are counted, especially the people who you represent.
Well, we do. And the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival, we have a Protect initiative. We must do more mobilizing, organizing, registering, educating people for the movement who vote. Because what we know is extremists for a long time have shown us that they know they can't win without voter suppression and low voter turnout, even in the South, even in so-called red states. They know many of those states are not red. They're just low voter turnout and voter suppression states. And so they've engaged it. This year, it's on steroids. So what we've done on September 14th, we had over 1 million people show up for a massive Get Out the Vote voter protection training. There are over 200 organizations now that are working together. We've trained over 3,000 people that are doing calls to over 2 million poor and low wealth voters who have been infrequent to move them to the polls. And we are making sure we have Forward Justice, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, ready to go for legal challenges if necessary. And we're hunkering down in 8 key states where just 1 to 19% of poor and low wealth people could fundamentally shift the election in the Senate and in the presidency, because we have to meet voter suppression with a determination and with a commitment that this Constitution will be lived out. And what it says, Mika, is no one can deny or abridge my right to vote. And we have to fight for that right, protect that right, and not turn back in this moment, especially.
Jonathan Lemire.
Michael, I wanted to ask you about the Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. Her hearings, of course, were last week. The Republicans are rushing to move this forward. They've scheduled, it looks like, the vote will happen before the election. But how you see her nomination playing among people of faith, and how are you seeing it cut one way or the other in terms of she herself is, of course, deeply religious. She's a Catholic. She has views. There's some real speculation as to how she will potentially rule on abortion rights. How do you think this could electrify one way or the other the electorate in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I think obviously these are deeply divisive issues. Christians and people of faith disagree on these issues. I think what's been important is Biden has sent a real clear message that this is not about Amy Coney Barrett, that this is about the hypocritical process that this president and Mitch McConnell have gone through to get this nominee through. I was pleased that that Biden was acknowledged that Amy Coney Barrett was a good person, that this wasn't about her. And so I think what Democrats have done have really deflated part of what the Republicans' game plan was here, which was to make this divisive issue, try and pull out some comments from Democrats. And the Biden campaign has stayed focused. They focus on ACA. They focus on the fact that this president finds every opportunity to divide the American people, especially around issues of faith, around our deepest values, instead of using those opportunities to bring us together.
Mika,
Reverend Barber,
can I say a point on that?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I want to agree with Michael, but disagree. There is no question on where Christians ought to stand on public policy. We have this guy called Jesus that made it real clear in every sermon that he preached. Joe often talks about that. He said to be Christian is to preach news to the poor, is to heal people, is to care for the immigrant, is to welcome the stranger. Now, that means you cannot be in a society where you had 140 million people poor and low wealth before COVID. 8 million more people have entered into poverty since May, and claim to be a Christian, and you be against programs that would lift the poor. You can't be against health care and claim to be a Christian. You can't be against immigrants and claim to be a Christian. Now, you might put the title on, but we have this guy who's the founder, whose name is Jesus, who wrote a whole book. And that book was backed up by people from the prophets, and they were all clear. So one of the problems we keep trying to say there's all this division. No, there's a group of folks historically in America who have tried, as Frederick Douglass said, to use Christianity for their own purpose. They take the name, but then they support policies that are not Christian. A tree is known by the fruit it bears. And so Christians have to be, if you're going to follow Christ, if you're going to follow someone else, that's something else. But to follow Christ is to be about lifting up the poor, to be for health care, is to be for welcoming the stranger, caring for the hungry. And it's amazing to me, when Jesus talks about poverty and lifting up the poor, we call it Christianity. When a politician does it, we call it socialism. It's wrong. And so what we have to be clear is there has been a lot of hypocrisy and misuse of the faith. And what is happening for a lot of Christians in this moment is they're going through a period of repentance. They've recognized that either they've been too quiet too long, or they have been wrong too long. And not just Christians, Jews, Muslims, and others. And that we need to stand in this moment and either represent our faith or hush. Either represent our faith or hush. And there's no way you can be a person of faith and be on the side of lying, domination, evil, oppression, killing folks, not providing health care. You just can't. It's not a division. It's a distortion.
It doesn't add up. Reverend William Barber and Michael Weir, we'll have to have you back. We're running out of time, but thank you both. And we should continue this.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.